A 4-year-old walks to school alone. No adult in sight. Cars whiz past without seatbelts. Kids are building go-karts from scrap wood found at construction sites where they've been playing all morning. Inside the school, teachers smoking in the staff room while children sit in classrooms thick with cigarette smoke drifting through the halls. This isn't a dystopian nightmare. This was just Tuesday in 1970s Britain. And if you grew up during this decade, you survived something that would get your parents arrested today. What made this generation so different? The answer might surprise you. The moment school ended, something magical happened. Front doors opened across Britain, and children vanished into the streets until the streetlights flickered on. No mobile phones, no GPS tracking, no helicopter parents watching from windows, just pure, unsupervised freedom that lasted for hours. Parents operated on a simple system. Be home when the streetlights come on. That was it, the entire rulebook. Children as young as 5 roamed in neighborhoods, explored woods, and created kingdoms in abandoned buildings. And here's the strange part. Nobody thought this was unusual. This was just childhood. But freedom came with risks that would make modern parents physically ill. Let's talk about cars for a moment. Family trips meant piling into vehicles that were essentially metal coffins on wheels. No seatbelt in the back, no child seats, no airbags. Kids bounced around the back seat like pinballs. And on long journeys, children were literally shoved into the boot of the car. Yes, the trunk, the place where you now keep your shopping and spare tire. That's where children traveled on holiday trips. And it gets better. Parents smoked with the windows up. Imagine being 7 years old, crammed between your siblings in a fog of cigarette smoke, while your dad drives 70 miles per hour down the motorway and nobody's wearing a seatbelt. This wasn't considered dangerous. This was called going to visit grandma. The metal seatbelt buckles in summer, they branded your legs like a cattle iron. Winter, they were ice cold against bare skin. But at least you had the option to wear them. Most children just rolled around freely, treating the car like a mobile wrestling ring. Now here's something that'll make you question everything. Playgrounds in the 1970s were designed by people who apparently hated children. Forget soft rubber surfaces and safety regulations. These were concrete jungles with metal structures that turn into ovens in summer. Swings hung from rusty chains, slides were scorching hot metal that could genuinely burn skin. Roundabouts spun so fast that children flew off like human missiles. And the most terrifying invention of all? The witch's hat. A spinning cone of death that defied physics and common sense. Broken bones weren't tragic accidents, they were badges of honor. Every kid knew someone with a cast covered in signatures. Injuries were just part of the experience, and nobody sued the council. You just learned not to touch the slide at noon in July. The seesaws were particularly brutal. Heavy wooden planks that could slam down and crush fingers or launch you into orbit if the kid on the other end jumped off. Climbing frames reached heights that would require harnesses today. And the surface below? Concrete. Hard, unforgiving concrete. But physical danger was only half the story. The chemical exposure would horrify modern safety experts. Sunscreen? Never heard of it. Children turned lobster red every summer, and parents called it getting a tan. Lead paint covered toys, walls, and playgrounds. Asbestos lined school ceilings. Cars pumped leaded petrol fumes directly into children's faces as they walked to school. Speaking of which, children walked everywhere, alone, at ages that would trigger safeguarding concerns today. 4-year-olds navigated busy roads to reach primary school. No crossing guards at every junction, no parent patrols, just tiny humans in oversized uniforms, learning to judge traffic themselves. The lollipop lady existed, sure, but only at major crossings. The rest, you figured it out. Look right, look left, look right again, then sprint and hope for the best. Traffic moved faster then. Drivers were less cautious, and somehow children just survived. Hold that thought, because there's something even stranger about 1970s Britain that nobody talks about. Community trust operated on a level that's almost alien now. Neighbors watched out for each other's children, but not in an intrusive way. It was understood that Mrs. Davies, 3 doors down, would tell your mom if you were misbehaving. The local shopkeeper knew every kid's name. The milkman noticed if something seemed off. This created an invisible safety net. Yes, children had extraordinary freedom, but they existed within a community that collectively kept an eye out. Stranger danger existed, but it wasn't the dominant cultural fear it is today. Everyone knew everyone. Your reputation mattered because word traveled fast. Get caught doing something stupid at the park? Your mom knew before you got home. This community surveillance wasn't oppressive, it was just how things worked. The village raised the child, quite literally. Back to the chaos. Fireworks were sold to children. Actual explosives, bangers, rockets, Catherine wheels, available to anyone with pocket money and 0 questions asked. Bonfire night meant children handling gunpowder-filled devices in their back gardens, often without adult supervision. The injuries were so common that hospitals prepared special wards every November. And then there were the building sites. Active construction zones were adventure playgrounds. Piles of bricks became forts. Cement mixers were jungle gyms. Planks of wood with rusty nails? Perfect for building ramps. Nobody fenced these areas properly. Warning signs were suggestions. Children climbed half-finished buildings and played in trenches that could collapse at any moment. The thinking was simple. If something's dangerous, children will learn to be careful. Natural consequences were the teaching method. Touch the hot thing once, you won't touch it again. But here's where it gets interesting. This approach to childhood created something unexpected. A generation of people who developed risk assessment skills through experience rather than instruction. Children learned their physical limits. They understood consequences. They became resourceful and independent because they had to be. There's a genuine debate about whether this was better or worse than modern parenting. These children grew up self-reliant, but at what cost? The freedom was real, but so were the dangers. Let's address the elephant in the room: smoking. It was everywhere. Parents smoked at the dinner table with children eating beside them. Doctors smoked during examinations. Teachers smoked in classrooms between lessons. Cigarette smoke was just part of the atmosphere, like oxygen, but worse. Pubs allowed children inside, where they sat in smoke-filled rooms drinking Coca-Cola while adults chain-smoked and drank pints. Nobody questioned this. Smoke-filled cars, smoke-filled homes, smoke-filled everywhere. Secondhand smoke wasn't a concept yet. And weirdly, children were given more freedom but less information. Sex education was virtually non-existent. Discussions about feelings or mental health? Unheard of. The philosophy was children should be seen and not heard, yet simultaneously go outside and don't come back until dark. It was contradictory, emotionally restrictive but physically free. The food situation was its own adventure. Children drank directly from garden hoses. Nobody worried about bacteria or contaminated water. Sweets were consumed in quantities that would concern dentists. School dinners included things that modern nutritionists would classify as crimes against health. Hygiene standards were relaxed. The 5-second rule was more like the 5-minute rule. Sharing food was common. Drinking from the same bottle? Normal. These children had immune systems forged in chaos. But perhaps the most shocking element was the sheer lack of supervision during genuinely dangerous activities. Children built tree houses in massive trees with no safety equipment. They rode bikes at terrifying speeds down hills with no helmets, no pads, just hope and momentum. They created go-karts from prams and scrapwood, racing them down streets with no brakes. Wait until you hear about the toys. Chemistry sets contained actual dangerous chemicals, not pretend science, real substances that could cause genuine harm if misused. Lawn darts were sold as children's toys despite being weighted projectiles that could impale someone. Clackers, those acrylic balls on string that smashed together, literally exploded and sent shrapnel into children's faces before being banned. Toy guns looked identical to real weapons.
cap guns, starting pistols, all designed to be as realistic as possible. Children played war with replica weapons in public, and nobody called the police. The contrast with today is jarring. Modern parents face prosecution for letting children walk to school alone. Playgrounds are padded and sanitized. Every toy requires safety certifications. Risk has been eliminated to a degree that would bewilder 1970s families. But was all that freedom actually freedom? Or was it neglect disguised as independence? That's the uncomfortable question. Some adults who grew up in this era look back with fondness, remembering the adventures and self-reliance they developed. Others recognize the genuine dangers and trauma that were ignored or normalized.
The 1970s childhood worked within a specific social context: community trust, lower population density, different traffic patterns, and cultural norms that no longer exist. You can't recreate it now even if you wanted to. Society has fundamentally changed. So here's what nobody wants to admit about 1970s Britain. That generation didn't just survive dangerous childhoods, they became the parents who changed everything. The same people who walked to school at 4 now drive their children 200 meters to the school gates. The ones who played on metal death traps now campaign for padded playgrounds. They experienced something they refused to let their own children experience, which raises the real question. What did they learn from all that freedom that made them decide their children should never have it? And perhaps more importantly,